It's a very dangerous job.
Yeah.
Well, you went to college.
Why is it dangerous?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Why is it
it's
underwater?
It's in the
and
name. It's in the name of the job twice.
Hey,
Underwater welder.
Is welder dangerous? You just
I
put the
mean,
mask
yes.
on and weld.
Oh,
right?
this guy.
Go underwater and make stuff melt.
Don't you just
like?
I mean, it's,
you know what I mean? Like,
if it wasn't dangerous, you wouldn't have to wear a mask.
well, no, it just sparks. It's,
Underwater welding is a very specified skill set.
why, if you're a regular welder, why wouldn't you just go ahead and learn? Like, go ahead and put on the
Because it
scuba
just
outfit.
It's hard,
It just
It's
became
that much harder than
sure
regular
it is.
welding?
dude.
You called me.
Everything's hard underwater.
You called me and said I'm going to call my podcast "The Dumbest Guy in the Room," and I just got it. This is, how could you still be saying this? You're
How can
under.
you still be saying it?
I think that's a big mistake people make. Is we have. Let me see if I can describe this. Like we think like, okay, you're a comedian, and then you're supposed to do this and this, and then you're going to get famous. And they're two completely separate things. Doing comedy and being famous are not connected at all. One is capitalism. Being famous is, are you sellable? You can be a good comedian and sellable. There can be an overlap,
Right.
but there doesn't
like
have
Patrice
to
or
be.
Bill Burr. Or,
Sure, absolutely. But they're not asking, are you good? That's not the question they're asking.
Yeah.
The question they're asking is, are you sellable? So then you could be a great comic. I mean, I'm talking incredible comic and not sellable. And they don't have any interest in you whatsoever.
It's the same thing
Remember
as.
walking with? Sorry, go ahead.
It's the same thing as when I see people go to comedy clubs or shows, and they're like, "Oh, this comedian was very funny. I've never heard of them before." It's like, just because you're on TV or not on TV doesn't mean you aren't funny. Like people
Right.
think if you're not on TV, you can't be funny. It's like, no, they do.
They would have found him by now.
You know what I'm saying? It's wild to think in every city there's somebody who's fucking hilarious, and no one outside of that city has ever seen them.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Fame is interested in making money.
Mhm.
That's what it's about. It's a profit. It's capitalism. Now, if you can prove to them that I have the following,
Mm-hmm.
if you can go out there and generate your own following, then they'll take you.
That's the only reason I'm in this fucking building right now. You know what I mean?
There
Like
you go.
I don't give a shit about social media or about any of that. It's just like if I can trick enough people into liking the things I say, then I can go to a VFW hall with 40 people 4 times a week and pay my rent. Like that's, you know what I mean? It's the only reason I'm on social media at all. It's just so I can go places and have enough people show up, you know, but you have to have enough people to come out and see you before these places that haven't seen you on TV will even give you a chance.
Sure.
Right. But now they're not. Do you think people even care about if you're on TV or not?
I mean, if they don't see you, they ain't coming out to you. You know what I mean? I don't. In TV swap it with social media shit, right? Like how many followers do you have? What credits do you have? The credits and followers are now interchangeable.
Going back to what you said earlier about when we were talking. Never mind. That was in another show.
That's all right.
That was in another episode.
You didn't change your shirt. That's how we don't know.
Yeah, it's the same day.
It's the same episode. Tom's wearing the same clothes.
There's a lot of fan theories going around. that Tom doesn't change his shirt.
I only have 4, dude. I'm a very humble person. I only have 3 or 4.
Yeah, I got like 6. I like.
Yeah. Anyway, now I forgot what I was referring to.
No, you're talking about like likes and followers and everything. I mean.
When he was talking about about
Yeah, and
fame.
it's like that's the measurement now. Like people are like, oh, this person has a lot of followers, and we want to book them for this or whatever or this show.
Jim Jones had a lot of followers.
Right. Jesus only had 12.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus
And
only
Peter
had
denied
12.
him 3 times. Judas betrayed him, and Thomas doubted half the shit he said. So really, he only had like 9 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9
You
ride
have more
dogs.
followers.
9 followers and 2 friends.
Yeah.
2 mutual. Yeah. 2 mutual friends.
Yeah, that's about my ratio.
Yes. I wonder if he would have changed his message if it got less likes. You know what I mean? Like if
If he would have posted that message and then deleted it
he'd
because
have
no
been,
one
love
liked
your
it.
enemy, and people are that gets like no retweets, and he's like, let me get that one off
I'm
before
gonna,
people see
let
that.
me say that at Tuesday at 4.
Yes.
Where
So
the algorithm
you got to get
will
right
pick it
into
up.
the algorithm, right? So that kind of goes back to what you were saying, whatever, in the last episode, where if you chase this sort of different version, that different path, there's less followers on that path.
You know, but
Straight and
that's that thing. I heard Patrice say something, Patrice O'Neill, forever ago, which it stuck with me. He was talking about the Pee Wee Herman thing and all of this, but what he said was, everybody thinks you need 1 million people to really like you, and really what you need is a small group of people who fucking support the hell out of you. And I think that's, you know, in my mind, what I've always wanted, just a small group of people, because it's not, you know, you're not for everybody, we're not for everybody. Just trying to find the people we are for is difficult.
I can't even get my family to like me all the time.
You spend too much time with them. You just got to do an hour once a week, Tom.
Walk in and be like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going? Can I help with the dishes?"
Yeah.
don't open mic family time, man. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. When you go home, are you funny?
No. I mean, I'm only funny half the time I'm on stage.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? It depends on how well can I hide the sadness.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole trick.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about comedy this episode?
No, let's hear what we're doing.
No, let's talk about sadness.
I want to talk about.
My ears just ding.
You want to talk about sadness?
No, whatever you want. I'm just currently very interested in sadness. Is my only.
When they were talking about the college and following your own path thing, you stood up. I was like, we can get you in there.
Yeah, dude. The college thing is very interesting to me, and the fact that your dad said that when you were trying to drop out of college is specifically interesting. My kids. You know, I got 4 kids, and they were all talking about college, and I was pretty heavy on like, hey, don't go. You know what I mean? And when, you know, one of my kids graduated, and that was very important for him, and I'm so proud of him that he did it. And then 2 of my kids dropped out, and I was very happy for them because it was very important for them to drop out. I think we make a huge mistake by sending these fucking kids to this factory to learn how to be employees, when really that time would be much better spent traveling the world, finding out what the fuck you like. The amount of people I know who have degrees in a thing they want nothing to do with is immeasurable. And I think the people who always take that break, that, you know, gap years or whatever the fuck they call it, travel around and then come back and they're like, oh, I saw this thing. That's what I'm passionate about. And then they find out, do you need a degree to do that or not? And I think that's a much better way to do it. You know, instead of just going in to get a degree and do a job you hate, find what you love, and then do you need a degree? If I would have went to college, it'd been a fucking huge mistake. You know what I mean?
I think over a lifetime, it depends on what you care about, but over a lifetime, you have a better income, and you have make more money and achieve more, like within our culture, with a degree than you will without.
Depends, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be an artist, and your specific type of art means go to fucking art school, then go to art school. But if you're going to do something that doesn't need that training, if you're already really good at it, or, you know what I mean? There's just some things you don't need to go to school for.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go to school to be a roofer and then an open mic comedian. It would have been a waste of money.
That's true. It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
I think that college has changed. And there are some colleges in this country and around the world that are truly set up to increase knowledge, you know, to learn.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn, you can go to the library.
You can go to your phone now,
You
too.
go to your phone. You can learn whatever you want. You learn way more than you will in college because you can do it as long as you want. You're not just in class for 1 hour.
Yeah.
You know, so. But in the 50s, the idea, the 40s, whatever, the idea of you go to high school and you go to college and then it means something was 100% true, because the percentage of people that got a college degree was small. So then you could walk in the door and say, I have a college degree. And then ears perked up and went like, really? You know, Eric's got a college degree. Oh my gosh, sit down. Let's talk to you a little bit. It's not that way anymore. It's, you know, it's back to capitalism. It's back to with comedy, you know, it's the same thing. If there were 100 comics in this country, then it would be I'll put it this way, it'd be a lot easier for Eric to go around the country if there was 100 comedians. And then people would go, I know that guy. He was the roofer and he's funny and he did, you know, all that kind of thing. You know, there's more than 100 comics in Greensboro, North Carolina. I mean, there's so many now that you cannot rise to the top. Because now a college degree doesn't really mean that much. Now you have to have a master's, PhD, whatever, blah, blah. Specializing in something like Eric's talking about, like you want to be an underwater welder, you're going to make a lot of money there. That's a lot of money. There's 15 people in the world that underwater weld because most of them die on a regular basis.
I knew one of them.
Yeah, they make a lot of money. You have to have specialized classing for that.
You know one of them?
Yeah. He was in the Navy. It was one of my brother's friends. My brother went to welding school. He's going to be a welder for the longest time. Then one of his buddies was like, I'm going to do it underwater. And I was like, oh, okay.
This job's not dangerous enough.
Yeah.
For
You know what would be better if this was underwater and stuff was swimming around me. Yeah, but yeah, he did that for a while.
It's a very dangerous job.
Yeah.
Well, you went to college.
Why is it dangerous?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Why is it underwater?
It's in the name. It's in the name of the job twice.
Hey,
Underwater welder.
Is welder dangerous? You just put the mask on and weld.
Oh,
right?
this guy.
Go underwater and make stuff melt.
Don't you just
like?
I mean, it's,
you know what I mean? Like,
if it wasn't dangerous, you wouldn't have to wear a mask.
well, no, it just sparks. It's just sparks. I have to.
Hockey
just
goalie,
sparks.
serial killer, and welder.
No,
That's it.
You need a mask if you're weeding. You need something to cover your eyes if you're weeding.
What?
You need a yes.
Yeah, it's because it's dangerous. There's a place
It's not
downtown.
dangerous.
There's a place downtown. I'd like to take you. They do welding classes. I'd love to take you there and just have you fuck around without anybody telling you what
No
to do.
supervision.
You know what I mean? Next week, Tom comes in with missing 3 fingers and and he's got a different shirt on, so it'll be a different episode.
It'll be a different episode.
No, I'm not saying that I could just. I don't think it would be. I think it wouldn't be hard to pick up. But once you're good, once you know how to weld, it's like it's
Underwater welding is a very specified skill set, and it pays very, very well. And there's not that many people that do it. So literally, if there's one here in Greensboro, then my bet is they are flying him or her, whoever it is. Like they will fly you to, Maryland to do one thing in the bottom of someplace, and they cover all the expenses, and you get a really nice payday.
why, if you're a regular welder, why wouldn't you just go ahead and learn? Like, go ahead and put on the scuba outfit.
It's hard.
It just
It's
became
that much harder
I'm
than
sure
regular
it is.
welding.
Dude.
You called me.
Everything's hard underwater.
You called me and said, I'm going to call my podcast The Dumbest Guy in the Room, and I just got it. How could you still be saying this? You're
How can you still be saying it?
You're underwater with welding. What are you talking about?
So, I mean, once you got the equipment down there and everything, it's just welding. When it comes down to it.
Tom's like, how could it be dangerous? Fire in the water.
Yeah.
The water stops the fire.
That's the hard part, is getting the fire to work and the water. If it works,
That's how hot it is. That's how
Okay.
bad the fire is. It
Then-
goes underwater,
Yeah.
Tom.
not
like
a good idea. And I got
plasma, dude.
oxygen around it too. That's probably a problem. You know what I'm saying? But still, it's.
Now you get
They're
it.
but
Probably underneath a tanker,
But
too.
it's
doing it.
once you learn this, that melted together.
I'm
you
taking
move on to
everything
the
I
next
said
machine.
back about college. You should go and you should listen and not say stupid shit like, once you're welding, then why can't you just weld underwater?
Tom will say some shit like underwater welding can't be that difficult, but then 20 minutes later, how difficult comedy is. Do you know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean?
Right, yeah.
Go
I'm
do
trying to
comedy
write
underwater,
an underwater
dude.
welder joke. It's almost impossible. Nobody gives a shit, right?
Here's my favorite
it's doing
thing
worse
Tom's
than my
ever
bagpipe
said.
Material.
My favorite thing Tom's ever said. He goes, yeah, I read Walden's Pond. It's like about a squirrel and some other, I don't know. I didn't really get it.
That is true.
the
I might even
best
have it. Is it over
description.
there? Did I bring Walden with me? I got
This conversation is making me think, like, we should write a movie. It's about a guy who's really smart, and
I'm not.
he's a janitor at a college, and everybody else thinks he's dumb. And he's like trying to prove to everyone that you don't need to go to college to be that smart. He just
Never
does a
gonna
library
work.
card.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have to get you're gonna have to get a big star to play the therapist.
Well,
That's
so-
the only way you're gonna get that
How we're
movie
gonna
made.
play
Well, what happened
That's it.
here is this show has just proved what you said makes you the dumbest guy in the room.
I am.
Because you said you go to college, you don't learn nothing. You can learn it all from the bookstore. Look at all this crap. This is part of what I've read. You know what I mean? I've
Right.
spent time in bookstores. I've read Walden. I've read
Yeah.
a lot. And I'm still an idiot because I didn't specialize in anything. I've got.
Well,
you
I
know
don't
what I'm
think
saying?
that's true. I
You're
think
not.
you're,
Yeah, you're
I
not.
think
an
you're
idiot.
more intelligent because you read some of these books. You're probably a little dumber because you retained very little of it.
Right.
But I think your attempt was adorable.
I like
You're
the
right,
word.
though,
The word
Walden.
adorable fits.
Walden is. I expected it because in a lot of these other books, like at some point in my life, I was in a bookstore, right? And I was like, all the greatest minds of human history
Yeah.
are right here. They've
Mhm.
already thought through all this stuff that I think about. I should read what they have to say.
Yeah.
And then I saw like a Pamela Anderson calendar, and I was like, never mind. I'm over here. But no. But a lot of the stuff that I started to read, they reference Walden a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh,
It's
this
about
has
a
gotta
little
be
bit more than a squirrel.
But it's really just so much of him talking about the color of the nuts and the squirrels and the things and the
it's called outdoors. It's hard to wrap your head around. I get it.
It just seemed like a diary of a guy just lonely in the woods.
It's a diary of a guy who's not worried about TikTok.
Yes.
That's what it is.
But now I realize
That's actually a great description of the book, and I think they should put that on the back jacket.
Right. Yeah.
It's true, but some of the stuff has stuck with me, like his idea that it never stops. It's all the same. We're in this hurry to get the news about something we don't care about or really blah blah blah, but somehow we do care about it, and it's always a similar thing. It's always, white girl missing and blah blah blah, and the cops did this. It's the same stories. Disease, and here comes a hurricane. It's the same. He doesn't say.
It's also incredibly artful, though. The descriptions of the nuts to get you to picture that.
Love a good nut description.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to reread it, I guess. I expected more.
You expected more.
I expected more.
As soon as you're done with the Pamela Anderson calendar, then dive back into that.
This had some pictures of
All right, so
some pictures.
The thought of expectation drives me crazy when it comes to art. It really nice catch. When we talk about expectation, right? So this is movie coming out, and every person I've heard talk about it talks about how much they hate it. And it's this new Monsters movie that fucking Rob Zombie's making.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I don't really give a fuck. But when everybody sees the trailer and they automatically pan it and hate it, I'm like, well, the reason you hate it is because you expect it to be what you want it to be in your fucking head. This is a guy who's making a movie in homage to a thing that he loved when he was a child. Why can't he be artful and playful and make the thing that he wants without your expectations making it shitty?
I don't know. I'm just saying that this book in particular had such high recommendations from so many people that I read that I was like, oh, I want it. This is going to mean something. And then maybe I'm just too dense to understand what he was doing. I don't have a problem with.
I don't think that's what it is either. But
I just was like, it was like when I read Gandhi's autobiography. It was like I expected it to be. You're right. It was expectations of what he should write, and instead I wanted to learn about nonviolence and his spiritual path. And all I read, and most of him was like page after page of like describing how he fasted or how he lived on nuts or how we should all live in our shop front. It was like, oh God.
If I come to a Tom Simmons show and I expect 100% dick jokes, and then you talk about the Federal Reserve, and I'm like, I hated this show. My expectations weren't lived up to. I'm not consuming your art. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
But I would even say
true.
That my opinion of human beings is even lower than yours, because I think, I'm being generous here, 70% of the people that are talking about how shitty this Monsters thing are haven't even thought about it. They're saying it because they heard it from someone else.
Yes.
So they haven't even asked themselves the question, do I like it?
They haven't formed their own opinion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Absolutely.
They haven't. They're just
we do that with everything.
Other
it's not
shit.
just the monsters. It's
everything.
It's God.
Yeah.
It's a big issue about race or religion. All these things.
The majority of the people never ask themselves any question.
Not to get political, because I fucking despise that conversation, but there is. That's the art of division, right? Like if I can get two people to not have a discussion past, hey, you're red and I'm blue, go fuck yourself, go fuck yourself. You never will form your own opinion. You take your opinion from whoever's leading your flock. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you end up catching middle ground when you have conversations with people you don't agree with, instead of downloading your opinion from other people's opinions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
100%.
It makes me crazy, man.
And then in that scenario, it becomes, it's not an opinion that you're trying to get. You're not sitting here reading Walden thinking,
Right.
I've got to, understand this so then I can communicate better with the world around. That's not what it is. It's how many people can I get to trust me? And that way I can control them by telling them what to think. Because that's what it's about. Whether you trust Rachel Maddow or Tucker Carlson, it's just, you're just going to mouth whoever the person you trust says. So your older cousin who's got a cooler truck than you hates the Monsters thing. So you hate the Monsters.
Right.
It's the most infuriating thing to me. What it boils down to me is like, I see a Confederate flag bumper sticker on a truck and I want to think, okay, that person's a racist. But the truth is, they probably haven't even asked themselves a damn question. They have it on there because they like the Dukes of Hazzard, or they like Leonard Skinner, or their cousin is the quarterback on the football team and he likes the Confederate flag. So we live in a world that you can't even trust the people that hate shit to actually hate shit.
And then those people who have
it's infuriating.
The Confederate flag.
I hate that shit.
I hate that shit.
Well, then those people who have the Confederate flag bumper sticker, everyone who drives by them all day just calls them a fucking racist and you're a piece of shit and doesn't have a conversation with them. So they're never going to learn why that is what it is.
Can you say, well, I've had a conversation with 100 of that guy before, and I'm so.
I'll tell you one.
I don't care about talking to that guy.
Yes, you
absolutely.
can.
Yeah, you can recuse yourself 1,000,000%. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I'll tell you a story to back up what
him.
Eric said. After a show one day or one night in South Bend, Indiana, I'm talking to this guy, high school teacher. His wife was also a high school teacher. I said, "Oh, what'd you teach?" He said, "Well, I taught history, but they let me go." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, they put me in charge of the debate club." And I wasn't really crazy about it, but whatever. I'm in the debate club. So he said, I told all the kids at the beginning of the year that everybody's going to pick one topic. Okay. You're going to have your day. So you pick your one topic, and then we're going to put someone to argue either against you or whatever, right? There's going to be a pro and a con. So then one day this kid says, I want to argue about the Klan, the KKK. And the teacher told me this. He said, well, I was like, I don't know. We're wading into iffy territory here. High school, public high school, debating. And so he told the kid, I don't know if I should get someone to argue for the Klan. I don't know if that's a good idea. And he said, no. I want to argue for the Klan. I'm a member of the Klan. My parents are members. My grandparents are members. I want to argue. And he was like, oh, and the teacher told me, he said, I went home, I talked to my wife, and I'm like, look, I told the kids they could pick anything. I don't want to back out and lie to them and say, no, you can't do that. So he put his best arguer against this kid, right? And she destroyed him in debate, right? Just destroyed him. And then after the class was over, all the kids left. That kid that's in the Klan stayed. Everybody else left. This kid comes up to this teacher and goes, I just want to say thank you I didn't know any of that stuff. That stuff she was telling me, I'd never heard any of that stuff. And he goes, you've never heard that the Klan killed black people? He goes, why would they tell me that? I grew up in this organization. My parents, my grandparents, you think we walk in there and they're just going to tell us all this bad stuff? I'd never heard any of that stuff. And he said the kid, it looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He was just like, oh my God, he just learned all this stuff, you know?
Plus he had to experience
He's white as a sheet.
the crowd or the audience or his own mind seeing he's wrong and agreeing that he's wrong.
In live, right there in front of your friends, and people you know what I mean, that you want to impress, that you want to be friends, all that stuff. That had to be a horrible experience for that kid.
That's the power of conversation, man.
And then he got fired for doing that?
Yeah, some parents complained that it was too controversial, and then he was close to retirement, so the school was like, let's just go ahead and cut this and blah. And it was just like, are you kidding me? So the kids actually learned something that class.
Yeah.
Or the one person that needed to learn the most did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we got to stop that.
Yeah, stop teaching people stuff. Stop having real conversations that actually mean shit. Let's talk about the fucking Kardashians. You know what I mean? This is stupid shit.
Could you have a conversation about the Kardashians that meant something?
I'm sure. I'm positive I could. That's honestly the conversation that could be had that means something is. I think you could talk to somebody who watches and follows that really heavily, because I think typically people who do watch it and follow it get dismissed as lower or whatever it is. And I think, that's just somebody who likes that specific type of candy. You know what I mean? They like that junk food. Right. And then I think there's a conversation to be had on the other side too. Somebody who completely dismisses it as fucking cultural drivel. And I think I think there's middle ground on almost everything. And without those conversations where they start immediately where you're fucking stupid and I'm better, that's, again, it's just this divisive fucking nature that we've gotten it's our number one export in the country is division.
It's the easiest emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to bet money, if you're a gambling person, never ever bet against human beings taking the harder way. That you'll rarely win. Always bet on human beings taking the easier path. And hatred and division and all that is an easier emotion because you don't have to understand anything. All you need to understand is hate. That's it. So the other way, you have to listen to someone and try to think about, do you have an experience in your life that you could, I'll give you one. I was dating this girl, probably the smartest girl. Anyway, okay.
In the world.
So I'm dating this girl, and she watched that Bret Michaels show. You remember that
Rock
show?
of Love,
Rock of
baby.
Love.
Rock of Love. I mean, this girl, master's degree.
I watched that show.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the dumbest guy in the room.
Ding.
And she would come home from work, and literally 3-4 hour marathon of Bret Michaels, and I'm just like, oh, I wanted to eat light bulbs. I can't sit in this room anymore. It drove me bananas. And I would get up, I'd go outside, and then I'd think, I better go back. She's going to be mad. And I'd sit there and go, you know what I mean? So then I go on the road, and I'm talking about this on stage in Peoria, Illinois. I'll never forget it. I sit on stage just randomly. I said, how many hours of your own life do you want to waste on Bret Michaels? And then this guy in the audience goes, all of it.
It's Bret Michaels in the crowd?
No, it was just some guy.
Oh.
So I've had that same experience, but swap out Bret Michaels for heroin. You know what I mean? I've dated people who, every time I came home, it was 3-4 hours worth of fucking drugs or whatever. And it's a numbing. It's a disconnection.
That's what it was.
Disassociation. Yeah.
She works with abused children. That's her job.
She needs to eat candy sometimes.
Yeah. And so when that guy said that to me in Peoria, he said all of it. I thought to myself, who am I to tell someone else what is good and bad, or what they can and cannot consume? And what it ended up doing was it forced me to go to her and say, why do you like this? I'm just curious. And she said, I work with abused children. I don't want to think. I don't want to come home and watch a documentary about something. I want to just,
She wants to
Turn it
see where those abused children are going to end up, which is trying to get Bret Michaels' attention.
God damn
Right.
it.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's what you're talking about. It's like, if you stop and ask someone, why do you like the Kardashians? Then you might end up learning something about your relationship, your friendship, who you are, why you hate them, whatever. It's possible. Probably not, but it's possible.
I think so. Man, I'm right there with you. I think not enough of those conversations get had. And listen, I don't want to talk to dumb people. It's my least favorite thing to do. But sometimes you see a smart person doing a dumb thing, and it's worth having a conversation, because that smart person doing that thing that I think is dumb sometimes has talked me into, I really understand that. And it's not dumb. I was wrong, and sometimes it really just is dumb. But, I think the conversation.
My dad one time said to me, I was talking to myself. He goes, "What?" And I was like, "I'm talking to myself." And he said, "Why don't you try talking to somebody intelligent?"
Bing. Dumbest guy in the room.
That's right.
I like the sound effects in this podcast.
It's a soundboard. That's not me.
We do them manually.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're driving a manual here.
Bing. Yeah. Analog, baby.
Hey, let me throw this out there. You were talking about, this is something I've been thinking about lately, Tom. What is this isn't political, but it kind of is. But it's wider than just, Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi. It's way wider than that, okay? The conservative mindset, going back to talking about college and there being a path, a clear path, right? That is the positive of the conservative mindset, it seems to me. They have a set of rules. Okay. They set up a society with a set of rules. And here's what you do. Your father is the foreman at the factory, and you know what your path is. You're going to get a job at 16, 18, whatever it is. And then you're going to move up, and then you're going to be the foreman of the factory. Your dad's a cobbler, so then you're going to end up doing that. There is a path. So, and it's clear you do this, that. Now the problem with that conservative mindset is if you don't want to do these things, then you're out. I mean, you are ostracized from that community. No homosexuality, Nobody different. These are the rules, and we don't bend on these rules, right? The positive of the liberal mindset is it's more inclusive. We're going to allow some of if you don't want to be a foreman, you want to go to art college, like Eric said, or whatever it is, then we're open to these kind of things. But the negative is the path becomes murky at that point. That path is not as clear anymore. So now it's up to you as an individual. It's no longer a community helping you get along the path. Now you have to figure out how to negotiate this path. And 70% of the population is not asking themselves questions. How are you going to negotiate a path if you don't even know why you went to art college? Do you know what I'm saying?
Was it just rebellion?
Just wanted to do something that wasn't that other clear path.
Right. If you said, I don't, my parents suck and I'm going to go to art college. Well, now you're in the middle of this muddy pond and there's no clear path on how to get to the end. That's a dangerous scenario to be in.
So will you tell your son when it comes to like getting through school and getting right, like is y'all's plan for him to get through school and go to college?
I think I'm going to be more like Eric on this. I think I'm going to be, if he wants to go to college, then I'm going to try to make that happen. And if he ends up being like, I don't think this was a good idea, then I'm going to support him then. I'll support him with that decision too. 7.
Gotcha. You got plenty of time. By Tom's logic, there won't be college in 14 years.
Well, I'm not as doomsday on the climate as Tom is, but I'm close.
Mm-hmm.
But I
have a little more hope than I used to. I used to think it was like 4 or 5 years. Now I think it's.
I don't think we're going to get
25.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to 4 or 5 years. We're not going to get that lucky. We're not going to get near that lucky. But I think by the time he hits college, it's going to be different than it is now.
Agreed. Yeah.
So then it's going to be a different question. If it was 1952,
right,
then I would say yes.
Got to. Yeah.
You should go to college because it is if you can make it through college in 1952 and you have that piece of paper, you're talking about a door opener at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's not a door opener.
I wonder if that's true. I think I wonder if that's true.
Isn't it? I mean, we talk about all the young people I know that are just finishing college are, they're all struggling for jobs. I mean, Seth, when did you graduate?
2018.
2018.
Thank God college is failing in this country because we need him. If he
I
was
know.
out
Exactly.
there making the money he's supposed to be
I
making,
know.
I mean, now he's making sound effects with his mouth over there.
right now he's like
Boing.
ding.
Yeah. Did he take a class for that? Okay,
Who's
everybody.
the dumbest guy in the room? The guy that paid for college. I got some books from Borders,
right.
and they closed
What a
the book.
journalism degree.
I paid for my college working at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
There you go.
That's how
That's
cheap it
finger-licking
was.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm surprised by some of it. Is really.
I couldn't get a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken if I went to college.
Why do you think so?
No, I just wanted to make the joke.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
joke.
it's a good twist. The art supply store. The art supply store in Athens, Georgia, which is
That's where you're from.
That's where I'm living now, Athens, Georgia. Independent art supply store. My daughter, we go in there. She loves it. La da da. Every one of them have master's degrees.
Mm.
Everyone that's working there.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
there's so many people, so many young people who are leaning into the social media aspect of things, becoming life coaches and shit like that, because you don't need a fucking degree for that. You don't need a degree to put out sugary stuff, build a big following where you
What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? Make a little bit of money doing that, and then, allow yourself to figure out some other stuff that you're doing. Comedians are doing it now too. I know a bunch of comedians who are leaning into the sugary side of social media.
What are we doing?
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
Let's do the Tom Simmons challenge. Let's get a challenge started. The Tom Simmons challenge.
Which is what?
You read
Read
half a book
Read Walt
and then complain about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've read.
And then go underwater well.
That was one time.